Okay, gang, the last type of method that we're going to learn to solve a quadratic equation is called the quadratic formula. I'm sure you've heard of it. And I give it to you here, and no, I'm not going to ask you to memorize this, okay? You'll have access to this on your papers and on the board whenever you need it. Okay? The quadratic formula is used when none of the other methods can be used. Actually, you can use the quadratic formula always if you choose to. It's just usually we save it for when you absolutely can't do anything else. Okay? The number in front of, we're used to the standard form of a quadratic equation, the number in front of x squared being labeled a, the number in front of x is b, and the constant with no x with it is c, as long as, and you have to make sure that we are set equal to 0. Okay, if that's true, if you have ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, you always can solve the equation by taking the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c. Divide that whole thing by twice a, and that will give you the answers every time. Okay, so we'll take this 2x squared plus 3x minus 9, which I try to factor, I try everything, it's just I can't seem to get an answer. Then I'm going to use the quadratic formula. Okay, let me move my face out of the way. Okay, so in this situation, hopefully you would notice that a is 2, b is 3, c is negative 9. Okay, we take, if there was a minus in front of the 3x, then b would be negative 3. I'm going to take the opposite of whatever b is. We said b was 3, so I'm going to take negative 3. Plus or minus, I'm going to take b and square it. 3 squared, 3 times 3, that's 9. Minus 4 times a times c. So I'm going to take 4 times 2, I'm just going to write it down. 4 times 2 times negative 9. That's 4 times a times c, all over 2a. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, so I have it set up. And now I'm going to go a little further here and figure out what this is under the square root. What is, I'm going to do that on my calculator. Why not? We have them, right? I'm going to pull this up and just take, watch how I do this. 9 minus 4 times 2 times negative 9. Not negative 99, negative 9. Okay, that's right, what I have under the square root. I'm not putting the square root there. I just want to find out what that is. Oh, it's 81. All over 4. What is the square root of 81? Right, 9. So I have negative 3 plus 9. Let's see, negative 3 plus 9 is 6. 6, so I have 6 over 4, or negative 3 minus 9 is negative 12. Negative 12 over 4. 6 over 4, it reduces to 3 halves. Negative 12 over 4 reduces to negative 3. Okay, I used this one to prove to you that the quadratic formula works. Okay, this actually does factor. Okay, I can tell that because I got rational answers. If I would have played with this a little longer, okay, I led you to believe it didn't factor, so you would see that the quadratic formula does give us the same answers that we would get if we would factor. I know what multiplies to 2x squared is 2x and x. What multiplies to 9 is 3 and 3. Let's see if that works. That's 6x and 3x. Yes, if the 6x is positive and the 3x is negative, I'll get 3 in the middle. Let's see, 2x minus 3 equals 0. I'll add 3, divide by 2. I get x equals 3 halves. And x plus 3 equals 0. I'll subtract 3. I get x equals negative 3. 3 halves and negative 3. I would have gotten that by factoring. I also got it by using the quadratic formula. Okay, does that make sense? Let's try one that doesn't factor. Okay, if you'll go to your worksheet and try number 6. Let's do number 6 together. 2x squared minus 6x plus 1 equals 0. This time, when I try to factor it, 2x, x, 1 and 1, those are my only options. There's no way that 2x and 1x combine to 6x. This one doesn't factor. Okay, I will have to use the quadratic formula. A equals 2. What's B equal? -6. And C equals 1. Okay, I refer to my quadratic formula, which is on the other page, and will be right on, as you notice, it's on your worksheet. I put it right at the top of your worksheet. Let's try this. I'm going to take the opposite of B. In my case, that would be +6. The square root of B squared. -6 squared is 36, right? -6 times -6. If you don't know those, put it in your calculator. But this number that you write here for B squared will always be positive, even when B is negative, right? Because something squared is positive. -4 times A times C, all over 2A. This time I have 36 minus 8. 36 minus 8 is 28. 28, I can't take the square root of 28, like I could take the square root of 81, okay? So I just have as my final answer 6 plus the square root of 28 over 4, or 6 minus the square root of 28 over 4. Those are my two answers. Those are numbers, guys, okay? They're just not rational numbers. They're irrational numbers, which you've looked at before. We have irrational numbers. Let's see what it is. 6 plus the square root of 28. Now I'll have to figure out that numerator. That's going to be a irrational number, and then I'm going to divide that by 4. So one of my answers is, about 2.8. 2.8, about 2.8. The other answer, 6 minus the square root of 28. I'll do that on my calculator, 6 minus the square root of 28. And I'll take that answer and divide it by 4. That's about 0.17. Ooh, 0.177. It's really tiny. 0.177. Okay? And again, those are the two answers to 2x squared minus 6x plus 1 equals 0. If I would feel like graphing that, I could always go to Desmos and graph y equals 2x squared, minus 6x plus 1. When I graph it, I notice, oh, look at that, 0.177 about, and 2.823. My answers were correct, 0.177 and 2.833. That's what we got. The exact answers are 6 plus the square root of 28 over 4, or 6 minus the square root of 28 over 4. Those are the two answers. The quadratic formula gave them to me. There's no way I would have found that without the quadratic formula. You can simplify these. I am not going to be requiring you to do that right now, okay? I think you did this before. Simplifying square roots. Since the square root of 28, I can think of that as, isn't 28 7 times 4? And I can take the square root of 4, right? The square root of 4 is 2. Okay, so if I can take this number and factor it such that one of the factors I can take the square root out of, that makes this a little easier. Okay, so the square root of 28 is the same as 2 square roots of 7. Since the square root of 28 is the same as the square root of 4 times 7, and the square root of 4 is 2, I could have written this as 6 plus 2 square roots of 7 over 4. And then since these are all even, I can divide that by everything by 2. So I have 3 plus the square root of 7 over 2. If you check that on the calculator, 3 plus the square root of 7, right? All divided by 2. I still get the same answer as I got for 6 plus the square root of 28, all over 4. Exact same answer. Do you see the decimal? 2.8228, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we get the same answer there. All right, so we have our new methods. You have your worksheet of problems. Come to my office hour if you have questions, or message me on Schoology, come to Bison Block, or just ask questions in class. All right? Okay. Have a good week.